and welcome to the 2015 Poetry Out Loud Maine State Finals.
The office, or ballgame.
Recitation transforms words.
This you can tell your friends with certainty.
My name's Jennifer Brooks. I'm honored to be your MC this afternoon.
And I have to say that as I was driving here today, I was thinking about the idea that not only will you all have the memory of this experience that you can take with you the rest of your lives, but you'll have these poems. Their music and their rhythm and their layers of meaning will stay with you and become a part of you. Right now, though, I'm going to introduce Charles Stanhope, the chair, and Julie Richard, the executive director of the Maine Arts Commission.
Welcome to the 2015 Poetry Out Loud Maine State Finals, sponsored by the National Endowment for the Arts and the Poetry Foundation in collaboration with the Maine Arts Commission. This year we're celebrating 10 years of Poetry Out Loud, and we're proud to be a partner in this wonderful program. And just so you know, Maine has one of the highest rates of participation of any state in the country, and I think that says something about our state as well.
We're excited this year that part of the celebration will include the role and presentation of former state champions. I am extremely pleased and proud to introduce the first voice of state champions, Kate McKeown. She is the 2008 state champion.
I am so honored and thrilled to be here today with all of you. It has been a very long time since I have been on a Poetry Out Loud stage. I participated in this program all the way back in 2008 when I was a sophomore in high school. And my incredible English teacher, Laura Mazzola, had our class pick Poetry Out Loud poems to memorize and recite as part of our midterm project. Recitation had never really been a component of my understanding of poetry. I found that so much of a poem's meaning lies within its sound. Recitation transforms words into music. Recitation allows us to capture a poet's intent and share it as completely as we can. Recitation brings poetry to life.
All he wanted was companionship for his journey and a chair to sit in while he held his pen and gazed at his shape-shifting friends, the clouds. So how, as he ended up with a wife and 4 children driving down the highway, his gas almost gone, holding a steering wheel that shakes in his hands? What's out of balance is not only the front end of his car, but the ratio of his bills to the pay he gets for teaching English in high school, and during summers mixing milkshakes, house paint, or cement. Which is why, rather than clouds, he is gazing at the warning.
The Greatest Grandeur by Pattiann Rogers. Some say it's in the reptilian dance of the purple-tongued San Goanna. For there, the magnificent translation of tenacity into bone and grace occur.
The Snow Man by Wallace Stevens. One must have a mind of winter to regard the frost and the boughs of the pine trees.
I am offering this poem to you, since I have nothing else to give. Keep it like a warm coat when winter comes to cover you, or like a pair of thick socks the cold cannot bite through.
Reading in the paper a summary of a 5-year psychological study that shows those perceived as most beautiful are treated differently.
Sighs, tears, and oaths and letters I have spent. Yet no more can be due to me than at the bargain made was meant.
The bird but seeks his proper food, and Providence, whose power endued that fly with life, when it thinks good, may justly take it. The river is famous to the fish. The loud voice is famous
to silence, which knew it would inherit the earth before anybody said so.
Though there be fury on the waves, beneath them there is none. The awful spirits of the deep hold their communion there.
How many beasts died to provide him with meat, belt, and shoes cannot be certainly said. But anyhow, it is in this way that a man travels through time, leaving behind him a lengthening trail of empty bottles and bones, of broken shoes, frayed collars, and worn out or outgrown diapers and dinner jackets, silk ties and slickers.
How could you kill it? Where would you hide the body? A creature so solid must have room for a soul, and if this is so, why not in a creature half its size, or half its size again, and so on, down to the ants? Clearly, it must be saved.
Entirely, by Louis MacNeice. If we could get the hang of it entirely, it would take too long. All we know is the splash of words in passing and falling twigs of song, and when we try to eavesdrop on the great presences, it is rarely that by a stroke of luck we can appropriate even a phrase entirely. If we could find our happiness entirely in somebody else's arms, we should not fear the spears of the spring, nor the city's yammering fire alarms. But as it is, the spears each year go through our flesh, and almost hourly bell or siren banishes the blue eyes of love entirely. And if the world were black or white entirely, and all the charts were plain instead of a mad weir of tigerish waters, a prism of delight and pain, we might be sure where we wish to go. Or again, we might be merely bored. But in brute reality, there is no road that is right entirely.
As Kingfishers Catch Fire by Gerard Manley Hopkins. As kingfishers catch fire, dragonflies draw flame, as tumbled over rim in roundy wells stones ring, like each tucked string tells, each hung bell's bow swung finds tongue to fling out broad its name. Each mortal thing does one thing, and the same. Deals out that being indoors each one dwells, selves goes itself. Myself it speaks and spells, crying, what I do is me, for that I came. I say more. The just man justices, keeps grace, that keeps all his goings graces, acts in God's eye what in God's eye he is, Christ. For Christ plays in 10,000 places, lovely in limbs and lovely in eyes, not his, to the Father through the features of men's faces.
Thank you for having us back. Poetry Out Loud has changed quite a bit in the 10 years since I participated. I was the first state champion for Maine in the first year of Poetry Out Loud, and it's been a wonderful experience again. What I'd like to share with you today is a poem that I read 10 years ago, Beauty by Toni Hoagland. When the medication she was taking caused tiny vessels in her face to break, leaving faint but permanent blues. It was spring, season when the young buttercups and daisies climb up on the mulched bodies of their forebears to wave their flags in the parade. My sister just stood still for 30 seconds, amazed by what was happening, then shrugged and tossed her shaggy head as if she was throwing something out, something she had carried a long ways but had no use for anymore, now that it had no use for her. And that, too, was beautiful.
And now I would like to announce the 2015 Poetry Out Loud Maine State Runner-Up, Ella Werner from Yarmouth High School. And the 2015 Poetry Out Loud Maine State Champion is Rose Horowitz from Mount Ararat High School.
Poetry Out Loud is a program of the National Endowment for the Arts and the Poetry Foundation in collaboration with the Maine Arts Commission.